All right, folks, welcome back. We are going to be getting into the next game shortly. Again, it's going to be INnoVation versus the winner of Stats or Zest. So it's pretty much guaranteed to be a great series. I'm really hoping we see Zest beat Stats, but the last few times we've seen Zest, especially when he played versus Hero, his PvP's not look so good. Like, I know this isn't this is not Stats, or sorry, this is not Zest's match history. But on the channel specifically, the last two times we've seen Zest, he lost 0-2 to Mana in a PvP, then 0-2 to Hero in a PvP. So I believe in the god that is known as Zest, but the online Zest seems to have a very like Maru aspect to him in terms of like very different player online and offline.
Yeah, we are learning that as we continue seeing him.
But that's cool that we do get to see him. I do... Like, again, like whether it's Stats or Zest going up against INnoVation, you know it's going to be a good series coming up one way or the other. And lots of good games to be had, especially with that loser's bracket able to play out. Now, I'm judging this based off of the way this went. If you guys recall the last Lei Feng Cup, we got the replays to cast, and we did cover those a few weeks ago. And when we did those, it looked pretty linear, like in terms of what we do on BaseTradeTV, where every match is played out as much as it can until the semifinals, and then those are both cast into the finals. I'm going to assume that's the format for now, but we've not really... I've messaged the admin and not heard anything since. What's really surprising me, though, is there is a substantial prize pool for this. Like, this isn't just some random tournament with a couple of bucks on the line. There is actually some prize money attached. And first place is 1,400 USD. Second place is 400. Third and fourth both get 200. So a good 2,000 bucks for the Lei Feng Cup is really nice.
Yep.
By the way, just while we're waiting here, I want to explain a little bit of what was going on with some announcements I made on Twitter. So you guys will notice Corsair is one of the only in-game logos we currently have running. I had a nice call with them today, and we are very happy to be going to continue working with them coming into 2017. Presently, I just want to say I love Chairs for Gaming. I love Yord Woodwatch. I love everybody we've worked with. But at this current moment of me speaking on December 7th at 3:45 in the AM, Corsair are technically our only sponsors at the moment. But we got some really good news about prospects for 2017, and I don't want anyone to be alarmed seeing all these sponsors disappear, because we can't tell you, but we have some really great news, I think, for 2017 once things are signed.
Yep.
And this, by the way, has nothing to do with the previous stuff. I know we've been all like cryptic lately, talking about like the team house and the fundraiser and like offline tournament secrets, but we actually have a lot of really cool stuff in the works right now. And I will tell you, I think 2017 is going to be better for BaseTradeTV than the last 3 years combined.
Don't say that, man.
I know,
this is better.
This is where I actually knock on wood. Like, joke superstition aside, knock on some wood. I guess we had a couple of subs. Thank you, by the way, to the Evil Pop Tart a long time ago before the stream started, and then Nightshade resubbed for 8 months about 17 minutes ago. So in the heat of battle, I suppose. Thank you so much for that continued support. We are, of course, still very happily floating above 1,100 subscribers. We were at 1,125 at the start of the stream today, so hopefully we'll see that continue going forward.
Nice.
But I know that, especially between... Oh, it looks like Stats lost.
Oh, finally, Zest.
Zest beat a PvP! But now we have Zest versus INnoVation! I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in for our mini little GSL that we've been going on for the last week at StarCraft. It's, blah, blah, blah. This is going to be good. I just want to mention real quick, though, that I know that we've seen some... Wait, what's going on here?
What's up?
Oh, everyone's like leaving and joining the party, I guess.
Well, yeah, everyone's choosing which one they want to go.
Anyways, I was just going to say really quick. I know that Nathanius actually had a pretty heavy discussion about this on his stream the other day. And maybe it was yesterday even. My days melt together with our current schedule casting every day, guys. But there's some discussion about StarCraft 2 esports. And there's, of course, obviously the dying game meme and all that. I just really want to emphasize, while we experimented with Overwatch, that wasn't so promising. We still don't really love games like Heroes and Hearthstone. we have a lot of love for StarCraft, and a lot of our focus and attention is still going to be on StarCraft going to 2017. So even if things are gloom and doom elsewhere, they won't be here, at least not for BaseTradeTV. Hopefully we're going to be able to offer a lot of good opportunities for the players with a lot of the stuff that I can't talk about. But looks like INnoVation is going to be A, Zest is going to be B, and they're going to be doing their vetoes, and we'll get this best of 3 going. Nice.
Cool. The other matches, I guess, everyone went, or a lot of people went to go watch Dark versus Stats.
You know, it's good and bad. Like, the good side is there's a lot of matches. The bad side is that we can't possibly cast every single one of them. So I guess shout out to is Wardy, I guess Wardy left the party, or yeah, Wardy left the party, so I think he's going to go do Dark versus Stats. So
okay.
If you guys want to see that particular series, check out Wardy's channel. Crank's also streaming some games today in Korean. I'm not sure which ones he's covering. I think he's in the same one as us though. Regardless, there's some other matches being covered now, more than just one single one. So multi-twitch it up, guys. Get your fix of StarCraft. I wish I read Korean better so I could know whether they're doing veto. Like, is that a veto for Daybreak, or is he picking Daybreak?
It's a veto.
So, have you seen this? I guess I've talked about it with Stream a couple of times. I don't think I've talked about it with you. Panic switched in his current contest for a tournament.
Well, you haven't talked to me about it, but I've known about it and I've seen his tweets.
So what are your thoughts? You gonna try and come up with something creative and win that bid?
That never really crossed my mind, to be honest.
I've got some ideas, but it's like, for me, and this is so bad, guys, it's $5,000. So this is just me being like, I have a value to my laziness, and apparently it's $5,000. I have a lot of good ideas that I'd love to pitch them, but every time I go to start writing them down in a proper pitch format, I'm like, I wonder what's going on Twitter. I'll be back in a second. Like, I just keep blowing it off, and I shouldn't. I would love to try and get some fun stuff going, but at the same time, the reason I bring this up here now is just kind of informing people I've not officially put a bid in for it or a pitch for it, but you guys should totally make sure to forward that information to your favorite content creators, be it the Gauntlet, be it Falcon Paladin, Wardy, whoever it is that does StarCraft that you like. Let them know that there's a guy on Twitter named Panic Switched who has been supporting people through StarCraft behind the scenes for years at this point, so he's legitimate. This isn't some random dude. He's offering up to $5,000 for tournament prize money for anyone who can pitch a really cool, fun, creative idea to him. So I would absolutely say get on that. Make sure your favorite content creators know about it. I've actually recently retweeted it, so you can find it in my Twitter feed as well. But I would love to see that money go to somewhere great. Maybe Fear Dragon's got something. I don't know. But make sure that people know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have pretty cool ideas, but I think the one problem is generally having a really good new idea that actually makes sense and isn't just something that's tried before and hasn't worked out.
Well, I've got an idea that we're going to try to work on eventually when Joey's got less time, but I don't think this fits the format of what he's looking for. But I had this really cool idea for a tournament, talking with someone, a friend of Blizzard. And there's some refining to it, to be certain, but it's actually a way to make free-for-alls interesting again. Because I think free-for-alls are always interesting in concept, but then nobody wants to play them because it gets to this point where it's stalematey and stupid and dumb, right?
Yes.
But I think the most fun free-for-alls we ever saw in history were those really weird ones. If you remember Day 9 casting, and they had that crazy mod where they could give people infestors and screw with the players.
Oh, I
or
love
give them
that
things.
one. I mean, I've actually forgotten what it's been called by now.
It's Trials of the Zelnaga or something.
That's what it was.
But the mod was never made public, and no one ever had access to it, so no one's ever been able to replicate it since. I was thinking, we pay Joey a fair sum to just sit down for a week straight, focus on recreating that mod, but take it one step further, and this is where my friend at Blizzard had the great idea of making it kind of like the Hunger Games, where you could have sponsor injects of things. So if somebody donated, say, $50 to the channel, you could pick this list of rewards that you could send to a certain player. So you'd be like, oh, $50, give Snoot an extra 700 minerals. Obviously I don't have ideas. I haven't refined it. But the point is, I thought it'd be cool to get, you would have actual viewer interaction with the tournament at that stage,
Yeah, I mean, I kind of I know we talk about the Hunger Games, you do the interviews, so they'd be able to appeal to the sponsors. I mean, the Trials of the Naga was by voting, which is Same thing, but not monetary, but make quite a few bucks.
Well, guys, we'll talk more on crazy and zany ideas later. We got a fantastic, fresh best of 3 ahead of us here for the winners bracket semifinals. And the bottom side of the map is pretty legendary. In looks, determination, and skill, it's Zest.
In the top position, as the red Terran, he is INnoVation.
Now this is kind of funny for me because I've seen a lot of ZVP and PvP with Zest, very little ZVT or PvT. Same kind of goes for INnoVation. We've been watching him play against a lot of Zergs and doing quite well. I'm actually not sure where I would put the weights for winning. I mean, obviously, I think for me at least, I go INnoVation just because I'm Terran biased and Team INnoVation. But Zest could very well be a badass right now in this matchup. I've got no clue.
We really don't know. All we've seen from him is versus Zerg and versus Protoss, and he's not the good versus Protoss, and his versus Zerg is not very ingenious. Like, its micro's cool and his macro's good, obviously, but he just Zest is actually not looking very confident in this recent patch.
So I just want to point out, by the way, we've actually seen a lot of Protoss players still going back for the old classic proxy Stargates, but on this side of the map. Zest doing this over here could be a robo with how close it is, but if it is a Stargate, it's in such a unpredictably, you don't scout here location. You might just get away with it.
So obvious, it hurts. I mean, it's such a close location, too, that I would have loved for it to have been a robo instead of a Stargate. But it is going to be a Stargate, and we'll see how much he dedicates to it, because even if it's not if it's a robo, you got to go one base all in with it. But if it's a Stargate, you can actually still go one base with it. You got a couple gateways, you actually send the probe out with a mothership core, get those pylons down. You could just straight up win, or do so much damage that I guess you can technically get a Nexus, or you can just be lame and get a Nexus.
This is hiding in plain sight, and I figured with INnoVation having gone for a Reaper, the first thing is you get across the map and see nothing. So you go home to check for proxies. But he's likely to check on this side, or send it right away to help try and deal with the pylon. Either way, this is going to be a bit of a rough start. I think he knows that there's a Stargate, though. The engineering bay coming down so quick. Yeah, you could argue it's for upgrades, but would be really nice for turrets.
Yeah, I think the sad thing is for Protoss is that it's just so expected to have a Stargate follow-up that you're probably better off not going for the Stargate follow-up and just hoping that they over-defend blindly. Because I do think that most Terrans realize it's going to happen. It's just a question of can they have their units in the proper position? Because you don't have that many units. You're defending between 2 different attacks, and you might just not have the correct split.
Well, keeps the reactor alive, barely, but here comes the Oracle. I think he's really hoping to pick off more of the Marines at this point, but the Adept gets a couple shots, turrets up, and the Oracle pushed off. INnoVation is going to stave off the attack for the time being.
Yeah,
and I think actually with the reactor having lived, he'll have the production to keep this up. If that reactor went down, you might slowly watch this bleed out over time. And I think that's a big part of why Zest didn't invest in the 3 oracles that we sometimes see with this, knowing that the reactor had actually stayed alive.
Yeah, I think INnoVation keeping that reactor alive was super important, but of course, cutting SCVs to get a missile turret was even more important. He even really specified his gas SCVs, and of course isn't mining from the natural quite yet. But the point is, he's taking no damage otherwise. If you do all that and barely can't afford a missile turret, you might still be down 6 or 7 SCVs because of that Oracle.
He keeps that depot alive. No supply block for INnoVation. SCV count's not looking too shabby as the national base is finished up. And of course, Mule's going to be dropping like crazy.
Well, Zest does double expand behind this, which is pretty greedy, but also pretty called for. I mean, it's a little scary to see that it wasn't a complete 1-1-1. They aren't just going to Widowmine drop you and that's it. Because in that case, it's not that scary. Just kill a couple of probes, if that. But the second second barracks, and then once the starport finishes up, INnoVation might have a decent push. But by then, you're hoping that you have enough overcharge and production that you can actually defend against it. It's probably going to be kind of a tight rope to walk for Zest.
Oh, no.
But he is kind of getting away with it.
The Marine's scouting around, still doesn't see the proxy. That's a little unfortunate. Not that it's going to be used for anything, of course, but just peace of mind,
Womp womp.
But going back on the topic of the double expand, I think one of the scariest parts about this is, you know, it's whatever for the risk of it being out here and exposed. It's just straight up 400 minerals you're not putting towards defenses. If INnoVation had a medevac, or if he was already scooting across the map with these Marines, he'd walk on over, and the only thing to stop him would be like 1 overcharge and 2 sentries. Not that scary.
No, it's not. But of course, as a Terran player, you never feel quite comfortable walking out without your medevacs, so that extra minutes of the medevacs and then the extra minute of walking through or even boosting across Van Eye is enough to maybe give Zest enough units. Yeah. He's still, as I said, walking that really tight rope, and he's also like going pretty quickly up to like good tech, which is going to also reduce the number of units he has to spread it out. But ideally, with even one Oracle, you can get a Revelation and know exactly where they're going to attack. I think that's the biggest problem right now for Zest, is that okay, if he bulks all together, he probably has enough units, but if he's in the wrong position once, then he's probably going to lose something important.
Well, quick updates as we continue to go forward. Got some tweets coming in, people saying they didn't realize it was double elimination. Yeah, I want to make that as clear as day, guys. We're still in the winner's bracket. There is a double elimination bracket to this, so if INnoVation or Zest should lose this best of 3, they'll still have a chance to come back for those finals, as first place prize is worth, like, what was that, $1,400 or something crazy?
Hey, I think that's what he said. Well, the pylons go down pretty quickly here as Zest realized a little bit too late where the attack was coming in.
Yeah, the overcharge also, of course, not going to be able to reach. Kind of sucks. Third base comes down, sees the Stargate soon, hopefully. Again, just kill it for the sake of killing it. But Marauder gets stuck on the wrong side of this, picks it up, barely get out alive.
That was like super, super awkward. Yeah, but that is only one pylon still, and the Nexus is already a little bit low. The Colossus is like a little bit scary, but there's only, I think, one force field to stop units from charging in on that.
Yeah. Without the extended thermal lance, too, it doesn't exactly have the range to reach past and hit a lot of these units. The Widowmine's also really nicely kept hidden. That's still something that might get a hit. We'll see. We do have another group coming in.
Like
Stasis Warp. Oh, catches the Widowmines, but the Colossus still going to get focused down. Marauder looking for that last shot. It's going to die.
Yeah. Nicely done by INnoVation. Could have been a little more perfect without that stasis and without the overcharge of the pylons.
That Widowmine, though, was so
like
sexy.
It's working for INnoVation.
That popped off the sentry. It splash damaged all of the Adepts. And INnoVation's about to get his reinforcements back. 2 more Widowmines, if they burrow, are going to do a lot of damage. Looks like they will both burrow. That's rest in pepperoni's time is what that is. Now the Colossus comes out.
Almost game. INnoVation maybe not going to be able to take care of these last few units, but he's taking care of the Colossus, so maybe so.
Marauders are pretty good. The Mothership Core going down here was certainly harrowing. And let's not forget those Widowmines. Yeah, they'd come back soon. GG. INnoVation with game number 1.
Well, Zest did try something kind of cheesy that did not work. So even though, like, maybe there's a chance he recovers being so greedy as he was, INnoVation's just too good.
Yeah. We're going to quickly squeeze in a commercial break, though, guys, while we get to game number 2. Stick with us, and we'll see you soon. All right, guys, doing what we always do and cutting the ads a little bit short. I thought this was actually going to be quite a bit of time getting into game 2, but nope, they went pretty quick. So, ended the commercial break earlier than anticipated because we didn't want you to miss even a second of the series. Spotting the top left side, he's down 1 game currently here in the winner's bracket semifinals. It's going to be the blue Protoss Zest.
In the bottom right is the red Terran. He's INnoVation.
So, as you mentioned in that previous game, and like towards the end, you know, Zest went for some cheese and it backfired. Could be like the TLDR of that game. But I gotta say, I was really impressed with INnoVation. Keeping a very calm, cool head. You notice he didn't throw down like 4 bunkers and get all scared from the proxy. He knew keeping the reactor alive was all it was going to take and was worth sacrificing SCVs for if necessary. Which, at the end of the day, he didn't even have to sacrifice SCVs for. So, just very calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah.
I wanna theorize something with you though. A little bit of riff logic, if you will. INnoVation uses the Diva portrait, and what we presume is probably the Diva voice pack when he's streaming, yes. Right?
Yeah.
Do you think it's because Diva has a giant robot?
And he's a robot?
It's like seeing love, you know, little pixelated hearts.
I'm pretty sure we went over that when we first asked if he used the INnoVation or the the Diva
INnoVation voice pack.
Oh, there you go.
It would just be like Microsoft Sam, but in Korean.
He's a robot. God, get it.
No, teasing aside, we were actually discussing their portraits because Zest is rocking his portrait as well. You know what I'm actually really sad about, though? We've not seen any player, Korean, foreigner, regardless of how BM or not they've been, nobody's been taking advantage of the worker sprays.
I just keep forgetting they exist.
I know. I think part of it is they put it so low on the command card. Like, you don't, it's really off to the corner. It's the redhead stepchild of abilities on the command card. I wish it was more obvious, because I would love to see, not even like BM in terms of like manner muling, but just in the early game, you're scouting with that probe and the Zerg base, throw down 2 sprays before leaving, you know? This is my territory.
Everyone imagined they'd be pretty good, but it isn't. I feel like there's so much stuff to do, you know? Like in
That's
Overwatch,
true.
you have like 30 seconds to wait, a minute to wait. So of course you're spraying everything. And because sprays are so popular, then people actually remember to do it when they're like waiting on the payload, for instance. But there's no point in StarCraft, which is like, oh yeah, I have something to do. Spray. Okay, that's what I did for the minute.
That's where we bring back Archon mode, man. Forget all this creative stuff. Let's pitch an Archon mode tournament.
Plenty of it. I bet there would be.
Yo, do you remember how obsessed I was with Worker Micro? I mean, come on. The amount of damage I could do with a spray? Oh.
Yeah, to the point where you wouldn't scout and I'd be like, well, what do they have? And you're just like, I don't know, they have one less probe.
Excuse you. Look, I have no excuse. That was, yeah. Good times, good times.
So
All right,
good.
well, this Reaper, unfortunately, speaking of not being able to scout, didn't get to see too much. Poking up to the main, got a quick peek at the gateway, and maybe the Nexus timing was all INnoVation wanted to see. Just confirm it wasn't going to be a one-base counter to being down in the series.
Yeah, I mean, so brought it up earlier in the beginning of the last game, and then we saw it unfold. But Zest doesn't really feel very confident in this new patch. Like, his macro is still good, his micro is still good. I can't imagine it's eroded away because, you know, KT is no longer his team. But for some reason, he just looks like he's depending on cheesy builds where he can highlight his micro, which usually isn't a bad thing, except that sometimes it doesn't even work against players we would think would be like an easy walkover, like the Chinese players yesterday. And you're just like, well, then is Zest, what's happening with Zest? Is he just in his experimental phase, or is he actually just super worried that he's no longer going to be relevant in this patch? I have no idea, but it just feels like a different player in some regards.
Well, you know, I think a lot of that comes back down to what we know of the Koreans in terms of they're not ones to experiment. Zest will probably be the best Protoss again the second someone finds out what the build is and he gets to practice it, right? But he might not be the guy to come up with it, and that's the problem.
Yeah, that might be exactly.
I really hope, by the way, I would love for Zest to just completely shut us up and like go for blank DTs this game and win with blank DTs.
Oh yeah, and like I want to be clear, like it's not that Zest, you know, he only ever macroed and that was the only way I thought him a good player. Of course, great players cheese. It just is so many of the same cheese builds, and I'm just like, I'm not entirely convinced it's actually him being a good best of player. I think he's just kind of relying on some of the cheesier aspects.
So a little bit of awkwardness here. INnoVation was building another turret. It's going to get shut down, but he does have a scan ready.
Yeah. So he's looking more for, of course, the Warp Prism than he would be the DTs, but you gotta scare those away too.
Yeah, and he'll keep this from getting too out of hand. I mean, that's the thing for Zest. Whether you're doing it in cheesy fashion, all-in fashions, whatever, the DTs are meant to do a little bit of damage, and even just forcing a scan out for each DT can sometimes be worth it. Back on the other side of the map, the Nexus gets planted down, third base. He's not exactly going to fall off the game because of his opener.
And, of course, talking about that DT micro, still very good. He can definitely highlight his skill with that, so getting whatever he can here. But third Nexus, behind all this aggression, hoping to make it kind of similar to last game, in fact, where just like that cutting edge between being a little too greedy after your attack and actually doing enough with your attack to afford it.
Well, as we wait to see INnoVation push out with these medevacs having finished up, we have a Twitch Prime user in chat curious as to why he's not getting ads during the commercial breaks. And it's because, sir, you have Twitch Prime. It's a really awesome feature that removes ads so you don't have to worry about seeing them, but simultaneously will still count as if you had seen those ads. So any broadcaster you're watching, you're actually helping out a ton just by being there.
It's amazing.
Oh, The DT is kind of a jerk. Two Marines. They did nothing. They did nothing wrong. Except walk out in range of the DT, I guess. Idiots.
Exactly.
Okay, another DT comes in. Gonna pick up a Marine or two. I mean, it might not seem like much, but it's still forcing scans as INnoVation's walking across the map. It's picking off the odd unit here and there. It's being certainly annoying. Another scan goes down. I mean, that's like 750 minerals worth of detection necessary that just went down.
Poor Marauder.
You know, actually, this is where I start arguing, and I know it's hard to use the tech lab for it, but I think a Raven in this sort of situation is worth even more than ever. Not just because of the money you would save for scans, not because of the monetary gains, but because of how good a friggin' Raven is now. Auto turrets are insane.
I agree, but it has always been for Terran players, not that Ravens were bad inherently. It's their lack of micro to keep up with the bio and the disruption in the build order.
Yeah.
You have to swap starport, so...
Exactly. I think it's the tech lab that is the biggest, hardest sell in terms of trying to convince people to go for a Raven.
Yeah. It sometimes feels really worth it against CT players.
Certain people it does, yeah. I've run into this one guy on ladder several times. I know, Diamond League, hashtag shoutouts, but he just he doesn't do well against Ravens. It's amazing.
Well, there was a drop in the natural base. Doesn't seem to do very much. Zest.
So I was clicking to see what the build what was going on in the main, but never mind. Yeah, it's cleaned up. INnoVation, for all of his greatness, has not really got much done with the Widow Mine so far this game. That was his second attempt at it.
Yeah, 3 is more than usual, which is 2.
Well, it's funny because then you watch people like Euthermal who, for whatever reason, do amazing work with Widow Mines. Like, everyone I know is different. They've got their specialties in the game, but
sure.
INnoVation not getting a lot done to Zest in that one regard. That being said, Army Supply is about match. There's an upgrade lead here for INnoVation, but I'd say more important than that, he has Liberators.
All those poor Widow Mines. Don't forget to get to burrow.
So
those force fields.
Well, the force fields draw a line in the sand. So do the Liberators with their liberation zones. Giant ass circles, actually, that you don't want to walk into. So Zest can't advance forward. He doesn't have enough anti-air. He doesn't have enough stalkers. INnoVation's pretty set on the defense, but man, this third base still not down. This puts him really far behind. Zest has been mining pretty happily for a long time. If we look at the income graph, oh, it's almost all blue. Like, I don't know what happened in these 2 spikes. This must have been pulling away from Widow Mines, because outside of that, like, Zest is killing it on the income.
Yep. And with the mid-game kind of actually almost done with already, INnoVation looks to be just, like, bulking up his upgrades and Liberator counts and defending against Zest's now slightly more powerful army. Zest has not invested in upgrades, though, and with this type of army, that is pretty huge.
Can we say that he hasn't invested in upgrades?
No.
Well,
no, we can't.
That response makes me feel sick, like I've got indigestion.
No. No. No.
There's a lot more of these. I'm going to save them for later.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like you can come with INnoVation puns too, and I'm just like, no.
I think INnoVation ones are actually hard. Zest is really easy, because it sounds like rest, test, best. Like, it's an easy one to pun off of.
Well, for INnoVation, you just actually use the word. You know, you don't have to rhyme with it. Jesus. Zest is really taking a lot of control over this game. Again, the only worry for me is that he will fall behind when it comes to tech in like a good army come late game versus late game. But now he's on his way to that. He's getting a second Robo,
goodbye, War Prism.
An assumed Colossus with his Robotics Bay, and he is finally adding on some upgrades.
Losing that War Prism is pretty, I will say, devastating for Zest. If nothing else, maybe not kills. It was meant to keep a portion of INnoVation's army to the side, and it was distracted and not ready to fight. Now INnoVation can just collect all of his forces, and on 1-1 coming up to 2-2 soon, INnoVation's upgrades are starting to look really good, like stupidly good.
Yeah, but as his upgrades get better and better, Zest's splash gets better and better, and if INnoVation doesn't actually like get some decent positioning against the Colossus, because there's going to be 4, maybe even 6. This could be trouble, but he's pushing right now. Even before his upgrades are finished, and he's just pushing Zest back.
I mean, I don't blame him. He saw the opportunity. He caught one of the Immortals. Concussor Shell's catching a few more units on the retreat. And this is turning out pretty badly for Zest. Not to mention the Liberators are still just setting up. They haven't really gotten to use themselves. Like, every time he sets up, Zest runs away. But the second Zest is forced to fight, when he finally gets pushed into that corner, this is a lot of Liberators looking to liberate some Protoss from their bodies.
Yeah. I feel like if INnoVation had waited for his 2-2, that might have been... Well, there might have been 4 Colossus, you know? Or maybe another War Prism coming in and try and kill him. But these Liberators are actually owning Zest's army, and he can no longer find a great position. Even, like, the back attack on the Liberators only deals with so many of them because there's like 10 still.
Yeah, and he doesn't even kill them, but should he kill them, they're doing their job of keeping the army from coming back and stopping INnoVation from killing the natural, then sauntering on over oh so casually to the third, ready to destroy this base. Looks like we're in base trade territory, folks, so Ace 1, Ace 2 if you got in chat, but that being said, it's a base trade against INnoVation's Liberators. I don't think it's going to go very well.
Yeah, Zest really has to hope that they're out of position and just like, get them underneath stalkers.
He's bringing them all back home. He's waiting to engage with the 4 that he has over here. There's no way Zest pushes up this ramp. Maybe with Adepts he can transfer through, but that's limited on damage. His INnoVation is meanwhile just killing everything back on the other side of the field. He's going for that 4th now too, diving in. There's a couple DTs being annoying, but there's just no way. There's just no way for Zest at this point.
And you know, if INnoVation can pick up his Marauder army with his medevacs and get out of there, then there's absolutely no way that Zest can win. But if somehow he can't, if like INnoVation actually takes a fight with only his Marauders against his army, he might lose a significant chunk of the ground army, but
hey,
even then...
If he dies, is he gonna Zest in peace?
That one's okay. That one's okay. Luckily, Zest was banking quite a lot of minerals, so he double expands.
It's not the worst, but it's also not the Zest.
I still cannot find those Liberators out of position. I do wonder if maybe, like, because having 4 Colossus and a max that army can be okay if you can get those Liberators out of position. I do wonder if
this is so gross.
faster Tempest would have been better than faster Colossus.
Maybe. I mean, we've actually seen a lot of people adverse to using Tempest. I still want to see their ability used more, but this game is, yeah, pretty much over. And Zest is going to fall to the loser's bracket. Not so surprising to somebody like INnoVation, who, I remind you guys, we actually got to see INnoVation versus Classic. If you haven't seen that, check out our YouTube, quick digs, youtube.com/BaseTradeTV, because that finals match went to the Ace game, and INnoVation showed some really good TvP over there. But, of course, showing equally good TvP here, 2-0 moves on to the winner's bracket finals. Now, I don't believe he has an opponent yet, but it will be another TvP in either Hero or Hush, so... I hope you guys like some INnoVation. We're probably sticking with this series, and we'll see you all in a few minutes after this break.